Have you ever felt it? That slow, creeping heaviness that settles into your bones, making every step feel like wading through mud. Depression. It's a word we all know, a shadow most of us have brushed against at some point, whether it's a fleeting visitor or a relentless companion. It isolates you, doesn't it? Pulls you away from the world, locks you in a room where the walls are made of silence and shame. And society? It tells us it's a flaw, a glitch in the system, something to medicate, to fix, to hide. But what if we've been wrong about it all along? What if that heaviness isn't just a burden to carry? What if it's a signal, a whisper from your soul, begging you to step into a deeper journey? This isn't a New Age platitude. This is an idea that comes from Carl Jung, a man who didn't just study the mind but wrestled with its darkest corners. Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist, a pioneer of analytical psychology, who believed the human psyche is more than a machine to be tuned. He saw it as a vast, untamed wilderness, a place where the unconscious holds secrets we've forgotten how to hear. During his own life, Jung faced a collapse, a period so dark he called it his confrontation with the unconscious. And what he found there wasn't just despair. It was a doorway. He began to see depression not as a sickness to escape, but as a kind of spiritual awakening, an urgent call from the soul to stop running and start looking within. Think about that for a second. What if the fog you're lost in isn't a prison, but a map? Jung believed our deepest struggles, like depression, carry messages wrapped in symbols and shadows. He said the soul speaks through what we feel, especially the feelings we fear most. The most terrifying thing, he wrote, is to accept oneself completely. What if your depression is asking you to do just that, to face the parts of yourself you've buried, the dreams you've abandoned, the truths you've drowned out with noise? This isn't about denying the pain. It's real. It hurts. But it's about asking a different question. What if this darkness is the start of something transformative? In this video, we're going to walk that path together. We'll dive into Jung's radical perspective, peel back the layers of what depression might mean, and explore how it could shift the way you see yourself. Because sometimes, the heaviest moments are the ones that crack us open to the light we didn't know was there. Are you ready to listen to what your soul might be saying? Let's step through the doorway. In our modern world, depression is often seen through a narrow lens. A chemical imbalance, a glitch in the brain's wiring, something broken that needs fixing. We're told it's a disorder, something to medicate, to manage, to overcome. And for many, that's part of the truth. But what if there's another way to look at it? What if depression isn't just a problem to solve, but a doorway to something deeper? Carl Jung, one of the most influential minds in psychology, saw it differently. He didn't dismiss the pain of depression, but he believed it carried a message, a call from the unconscious, urging us to confront parts of ourselves we've ignored or forgotten. For Jung, depression wasn't just a symptom, it was an invitation to explore the hidden depths of the psyche, to face what he called the shadow, the parts of us we deny or suppress. Jung didn't just theorize about this, he lived it. In 1913, at the height of his career, he faced a profound personal crisis. Despite his success, he felt lost, disconnected, and plagued by strange visions and dreams. Most people would have tried to escape this turmoil, but Jung did something radical. He leaned into it. He began a process of deep introspection, recording his visions and inner dialogues in a series of notebooks that would later become the Red Book. This wasn't just a diary. It was a map of his descent into the unconscious, a journey that transformed him and his understanding of the human psyche. Now, think about your own life. Have you ever felt a sense of emptiness, even when everything seems to be going well? Like there's something missing, a void that success, relationships, or achievements can't fill? Jung would say this isn't a sign of failure, it's a signal. Your unconscious is whispering, asking you to look beyond the surface, to explore the parts of yourself you've buried or ignored. It's not a breakdown, it's a call to adventure, not into the world outside, but into the vast, uncharted territory within. So, what if we've been misunderstanding depression all along? What if, instead of just trying to fix it, we learned to listen to it? Have you ever felt like you're standing on the edge of yourself, peering into a void you can't name? In 1913, Carl Jung knew that feeling all too well. He was a titan in his field, a psychiatrist whose name carried weight, whose ideas were reshaping how we understand the mind. Yet, beneath the accolades, Jung was adrift. Success hadn't filled the hollow space inside him. It had only made it louder. This wasn't just a fleeting sadness. It was a call from the depths, a whisper from the parts of himself he'd never dared to face. Most of us might run from that whisper, drown it out with noise or distraction. But Jung turned toward it. He chose to step into the shadows of his own psyche, using a method he called active imagination. Think of it like a waking dream, a dialogue with the unseen parts of yourself. It's not passive, it's a deliberate plunge into the unconscious, that vast, murky ocean where our fears, dreams, and forgotten selves swim. What he found there was extraordinary. Jung began to see visions, figures that rose from the depths like characters in a mythic play. There was Philemon, a winged old man with the air of an ancient sage, a symbol of wisdom Jung didn't know he carried. And then the Red One, a crimson-clad shadow, all mischief and menace, reflecting the parts of Jung he'd rather deny. These encounters, scribbled into the Red Book, weren't just fantasies. They were archetypes, universal patterns of the human soul, showing Jung the raw, unfiltered truth of who he was. But this wasn't a gentle stroll through the mind. Jung was afraid. The ground beneath him felt unstable, as if the boundary between sanity and chaos might dissolve. He wrestled with confusion, with the terror of losing himself entirely. Yet, in that struggle, something shifted. He stopped fighting the darkness and started listening to it. And in that surrender, he found not destruction, but meaning, a path to wholeness carved through the chaos. What if your darkest moments are trying to lead you somewhere profound? What if the emptiness you feel isn't a void to fear, but a doorway to something greater, something waiting for you to step through? Have you ever felt like there's a part of you that you don't fully understand? A part that sometimes acts out in ways that surprise even you? Maybe it's a sudden burst of anger, or a deep sadness that seems to come out of nowhere. These moments might be glimpses of what Carl Jung called the shadow, the hidden, often repressed aspects of ourselves that we try to keep out of sight. But the shadow doesn't live alone. It's part of a much larger, unseen world within us, the unconscious. Jung described the psyche as an iceberg. The conscious mind, what we're aware of, is just the tip above the water. Below the surface lies the unconscious, a vast and mysterious realm that drives much of our behavior and emotions. Within this unconscious, there are two key components: the collective unconscious and the shadow. The collective unconscious is like a shared library of human experience, filled with universal patterns and symbols that Jung called archetypes. These archetypes, the hero, the mother, the trickster, appear in myths, dreams, and stories across cultures, shaping how we perceive the world and ourselves. They're the ancient threads that connect us all, whispering through our instincts and intuitions. Then there's the shadow. Unlike the collective unconscious, the shadow is deeply personal. It's the part of ourselves that we deny or repress because it doesn't fit with who we think we are or who society expects us to be. It's like that awkward relative you avoid at family gatherings. Uncomfortable, maybe even embarrassing, but undeniably part of you. And just like that relative, the shadow won't stay quiet forever. It finds ways to make itself known, often through our emotions, dreams, or even physical symptoms. Imagine your mind as a house. The conscious mind is the living room, neatly arranged and presentable, where you entertain guests and show your best self. The unconscious is the basement, filled with old boxes and forgotten items. The shadow is that dusty box in the corner, the one you've been meaning to sort through but keep putting off. But here's the thing. The longer you ignore it, the louder it gets. It starts to rattle, to thump against the floorboards, demanding your attention. Jung believed that when we ignore the shadow, it can manifest in various ways, including depression. That heaviness, that inexplicable sadness, might be a signal from your unconscious, urging you to look deeper. It's as if your shadow is saying, "Hey, remember me? We need to talk." Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." In other words, the parts of yourself you avoid or deny will continue to influence you, often in ways that feel out of your control. But by acknowledging and integrating the shadow, you can reclaim your power and find a path to healing. So, the next time you feel that weight pressing down on you, ask yourself, what is my shadow trying to tell me? What part of myself have I been ignoring? What if the key to lifting that heaviness lies not in pushing it away, but in turning toward it with curiosity and compassion? What if the heaviness you feel isn't a dead end, but the beginning of a story waiting to unfold? Meet Sarah, a lawyer in her mid-30s, living what many would call a dream life. She had the corner office, the designer wardrobe, the calendar packed with prestigious events. On paper, her life was a masterpiece. But inside, Sarah felt like a stranger in her own story. Each morning, she'd stare at her reflection, wondering when the emptiness crept in. It wasn't burnout or a bad day. It was a quiet, gnawing sense that something essential was missing. This is where Sarah's journey began, not with a grand quest, but with a whisper from the depths of her soul. In many ways, her experience mirrors what mythologist Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey, a timeless narrative where the hero is called to leave the ordinary world, face trials in the unknown, and return transformed. For Sarah, depression was that call to adventure. It wasn't a villain to defeat, but an invitation to descend into the underworld of her own psyche. In psychological terms, this underworld is the unconscious, a vast, uncharted territory where our deepest fears, unresolved wounds, and forgotten dreams reside. It's here that Sarah encountered her shadow, the parts of herself she had long ignored. Jung described the shadow as the dark side of our personality, not because it's evil, but because it's hidden from the light of awareness. For Sarah, this meant confronting her unmet needs, the grief she'd buried, and the passions she'd sacrificed for success. At first, the journey felt like wandering through a fog. She faced moments of doubt, wondering if she'd ever find her way. But as she leaned into the discomfort, through therapy, journaling, and quiet reflection, something shifted. She began to reconnect with her authentic self. She rediscovered her love for painting, a passion she'd abandoned in law school. She realized her high-powered career, while impressive, didn't align with her deeper values. Slowly, she started making changes, taking art classes, volunteering, and eventually shifting to a career that felt like home. Sarah's transformation wasn't about erasing the darkness, it was about integrating it. As she faced her shadow, she felt like a puzzle coming together, pieces of herself that had been scattered now forming a coherent whole. Jung believed that by embracing the shadow, we unlock our true potential. For Sarah, this meant stepping into a life of authenticity and purpose. Her story invites us to ask, could your depression be a call to rewrite your life's story? What if the heaviness you feel isn't a burden to escape, but a compass pointing you toward your true north? What might happen if you answered that call? So, how do you answer this call? How do you step into the shadowed forest of your own soul? Depression, as Carl Jung might frame it, is not just a burden. It's an invitation, a summons to adventure. But where do you begin? While every journey twists and turns in its own way, there are 5 practical steps to guide you through the uncharted depths of your psyche. First, acknowledge your emotions without judgment. Picture your feelings as travelers arriving at your doorstep. Don't bolt the door or hide in the shadows, open it. Let them sit with you. If a wave of sadness crashes in, resist the urge to call it wrong or shove it aside. Ask instead, what are you here to show me? What have I buried beneath the noise of my days? In Jungian terms, emotions are voices from the unconscious, whispering truths we've forgotten to hear. Second, seek solitude to listen to your inner voice. Our world buzzes with distraction, phones, voices, endless demands. But the soul speaks softly, and it's in silence that you'll hear it. Carve out a moment each day, even just 5 minutes, to sit alone. Let your mind settle, like silt sinking to the bottom of a stirred river. Imagine stepping out of a crowded room to catch a faint, haunting melody. That's your inner voice calling, give it space to sing. Third, express yourself through journaling or art. The unconscious doesn't speak in sentences, it paints in symbols, dreams in colors. Grab a pen, a brush, anything, and let it spill out. Don't aim for perfection. Scribble, sketch, write whatever flows. Jung himself turned to mandalas, letting his hands map the chaos within. This isn't about skill, it's about giving shape to the shapeless, a bridge between your depths and your daylight mind. Fourth, explore your dreams for unconscious clues. Jung called dreams the royal road to the unconscious, a nightly theater where hidden parts of you take the stage. Keep a journal by your bed, jot down the fragments you recall. Notice patterns, recurring figures, strange symbols. A locked door, a shadowed figure, they're not random. They're pieces of a puzzle, balancing what your waking self ignores. Fifth, consider Jungian therapy if the path feels too dark. Sometimes, we need a guide to navigate the labyrinth. A Jungian therapist can help you decode the archetypes and shadows that surface, those ancient patterns woven into your story. It's not about fixing you, it's about walking beside you as you uncover who you've always been. These steps aren't a cure, they're a compass, a map to your true self. They won't banish the night, but they'll light a candle within it. Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This journey, with all its stumbles, is how you claim that privilege. What if the pain you're feeling isn't the end of the story, but the beginning of a transformation? Imagine a caterpillar, snug in its cocoon. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. A quiet, dark enclosure where the world seems to have stopped. But inside, a profound change is unfolding. The caterpillar is dissolving, breaking down, only to reform into something entirely new, a butterfly. This process, called metamorphosis, is painful and disorienting, yet it's necessary for the creature to emerge with wings. In a similar way, depression can feel like being trapped in a cocoon of your own making. Everything familiar seems to crumble, the life you knew feels distant, and the future uncertain. But what if this breakdown is part of a larger process? What if depression isn't just a disorder to be cured, but an invitation to transform? Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who explored the depths of the human psyche, believed that our darkest moments hold the key to our greatest growth. He saw depression not as a mere affliction, but as a signal from the unconscious, that vast, hidden part of ourselves that holds our fears, dreams, and forgotten truths. Within this unconscious lies the shadow, the parts of us we deny or repress because they don't fit our self-image or society's expectations. Jung taught that when we ignore the shadow, it doesn't disappear, it festers, often surfacing as emotional pain or psychological distress. Depression, then, can be a wake-up call, a sign that our shadow is demanding to be seen. The heaviness you feel might be the weight of unacknowledged parts of yourself, pleading for integration. It's as if your psyche is saying, you can't move forward until you face what you've left behind. Jung captured this idea in one of his most famous quotes: "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." In other words, true self-awareness and growth don't come from focusing only on the positive or the ideal. They come from bravely exploring the hidden, uncomfortable parts of ourselves, the fears, the shame, the unresolved wounds. It's in the darkness that we find the raw material for transformation. Consider someone who has spent their life pleasing others, suppressing their own needs to keep the peace. Over time, this denial of self can lead to a deep sense of emptiness, even depression. But by acknowledging this pattern, by facing the shadow, they can begin to reclaim their voice, their desires, and their authenticity. It's not easy, it requires courage to sit with discomfort. Yet through this process they emerge more whole, more alive. Of course, this doesn't mean you should ignore medical advice or stop any treatments you're undergoing. Rather, it's a complementary perspective that can enrich your understanding and help you navigate your inner world. Just as the caterpillar must endure the confines of the cocoon to become a butterfly, we too must sometimes pass through periods of darkness and disintegration to grow. Depression in this light isn't just pain, it's a crucible for change, an opportunity to integrate the unconscious and step into a more authentic version of yourself. So, the next time you find yourself in the depths, remember, this might be your psyche's way of calling you to a deeper journey. It's not about avoiding the darkness but learning to navigate it. As Jung reminds us, enlightenment comes not from imagining light, but from making the darkness conscious. And in that consciousness, you may find not just relief, but rebirth. We've traveled far together, haven't we? From the heavy fog of depression as a clinical label, a disorder to be medicated or managed, to a quieter, more curious view. What if it's a call? A signal from the unconscious, as Carl Jung might say, urging us to turn inward. This journey we've traced isn't about denying the pain or the struggle. It's about reframing it. Depression isn't just a dead end, it's a doorway, an invitation to explore the unseen parts of ourselves, to ask questions we've buried beneath the noise of daily life. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast, shadowed forest. The air is thick, the path unclear, and the weight of your steps feels unbearable at first. But what if this darkness isn't here to trap you? What if it's a guide, leading you toward a clearing you can't yet see? Jung believed the psyche speaks in symbols and symptoms, and depression might be its loudest cry, a call to embark on the hero's journey within, to face the dragons of fear and doubt and uncover the treasure of self-knowledge. So, here's a question to hold gently in your mind. What if your depression is asking, who are you really? Not the you shaped by others' expectations or polished for the world, but the raw, unfiltered you waiting beneath the surface. What if this heaviness is your soul's way of pulling you back to itself, demanding you listen? This path isn't simple. It winds through thorns of resistance and stretches of silence that test your resolve. Yet, every traveler who's walked it, Jung, the poets, even those quietly healing today, tells us it's worth it. Because on the other side of the struggle lies meaning, a sense of purpose forged in the depths. You're not broken, you're becoming. So, take that first step. Embrace the journey. The light you seek isn't out there, it's within you, waiting to be found. What if the heaviest moments of your life were not just burdens to bear, but invitations to step deeper into yourself? Throughout this video, we've explored depression through the lens of Jungian psychology, not as a mere disorder, but as a shadowed gateway to self-discovery. We've seen how the psyche, in its quiet wisdom, uses pain to call us toward integration, toward a confrontation with what Carl Jung called the shadow, those hidden parts of ourselves we've long ignored. But this journey doesn't end with understanding. It begins with your voice. Have you ever felt depression spark something unexpected within you? Maybe it was a fleeting moment when the weight cracked open, revealing a sliver of light, a new insight, a fragile strength, a whisper of growth you didn't see coming. I invite you to pause and reflect. What has your darkness taught you about yourself? Share your story in the comments below. Your words could be more than a memory. They could become a lantern, guiding someone else through their own unlit paths. And as you share, linger a little longer. Read the stories of others. Respond to them. Together, we can weave a tapestry of human experience, each thread a testament to resilience, each voice a stitch in the fabric of our collective healing. In Jung's view, the individuation process, becoming whole, thrives in connection, not isolation. Your insight might just be the key that unlocks meaning for another soul. If this journey has stirred something in you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It's more than a button, it's a step into a community of seekers, all navigating the labyrinth of the mind together. By subscribing, you'll join us as we continue to explore the depths of the psyche, from the archetypes that shape us to the traumas that redefine us. Think of it as a quiet commitment to your own inner work. And if you know someone who might find solace or clarity in this perspective, share this video with them. A single spark, an idea, a story, can ignite transformation in ways we can't predict. As Jung once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. This isn't a solitary road. The shadows we face, the growth we claim, they bind us. So, take that step, share your story, join our community, and let's walk this path of discovery together.